So, good evening, everyone. This is another opportunity, and it is going to be the second lecture in Introduction to Bioethics. And basically, we are going to focus on the principles of bioethics today. And in examining this, we are going to also look at what are the ethical dilemmas. In the introductory presentation on the introductory lecture, I actually gave you some of these dilemmas, which was actually stated for you. Today, basically, we want to look at different definitions as it applies to bioethics principle. Don't forget the other time, the first lecture, I told you that bioethics is a professional course by medical students, and that this institution just adopted this in order to make us to be able, at least to certain level, to be able to know what and what is happening in our field of study. And basically, I told us that one of the application of bioethics is that it will actually help us in our interrelationship. For example, the ethics of you do to others as you hurt others to do to you. That is, you do to others, you should treat others the same way as you ought to be treated. So that is not is part of what we actually have to live with. It's part of the philosophy of life that you should not treat others the same way that you don't want others to treat you. So, and if we allow this to be our ethical principles in our daily life, you will just discover that your relationship with your very close friends, your relationship, your responsibility with even your your parents at home, and every other people or every other members of the society are going to be very, very different. So bioethics is applicable in our individual life, in our daily life, forever, for whatsoever reason. It is very, very applicable, and it is also what is going to even judge where we are going to be. Sometimes we ought to believe that we have, as students, there are certain responsibilities that we ought to fulfill as students. So if we are not fulfilling it, if we are not performing it, we just discover that it is going to be unethical. So sometimes bioethics or ethics, we can also call it discipline. We can call it the principle of life. We can call it the philosophy of life. So that is exactly what we are trying to say. Under normal circumstances, even in the holy books, in our holy books, there are certain things that you no sinner can go unpunished. It doesn't actually mean that maybe because you are very close to God, or maybe because you are serving God, or maybe because of one thing or another. So there are ethical standards that is expected of you, that is expected of you as microbiologist in this field, as somebody who is going to be a graduate very, very soon. So that is part of the principle we are going to look at today. And just like I said, this is going to be a special reference, a special focus into everything or all terms and terminologies that we are going to come across whenever we are talking about bioethics principles. And that is why, and I told you that there are certain dilemmas, there are certain, can I do it or can I not do it? Is this acceptable? Is it not acceptable? For example, the fact that somebody is already been diagnosed with terminal diseases or with terminal ailments, that um, the eventual destination is going to be death, does not actually guarantee that that must be the reason why you will stop treating the person. That must not be the reason. You won't even think that because your parent or your grandfather is too old and you now want him or her to go, so you are not feeding the person well. It is unethical. It is against the principle of existence. So, and that is one of the uh, application, the practical application of bioethics. So that's why I said it is very, very applicable in our individual life. So these are part of the dilemmas. Should we do it or should we not do it? There are certain things that ethically it is very, very wrong that you take what does not belong to you, you take it by force, you take it without the person's approval. And that is exactly the principle of informed consent. You have to, for example, now as a lecturers, I can't just come online, I can't just come live and just say, okay, whether you like it or not, oh, let me just give you lectures, even without even sending you the notice. So it is going to be unethical to do it. So there are certain things that we ought to know, and we are going to learn them the more in this course. Okay. So what are these key definitions? For example, bioethics. What do we mean by bioethics? It is the study. I want you to start underlining some keywords. The study of moral issues. The question is, what do we understand by moral? What is morality? Don't you know that there are some times that there are some things that are moral to Mr. A and it is not moral to Mr. B? Some people believe that money is everything, whereas some people believe that human relationship is something that some people believe that it is food, it is shelter. So bioethics is the study of moral issues. What are those moral issues? What are the as citizen of any country, are we not being deprived of um our rights? Are we not going to violate the right of others? When you are calling, it is ethical that whenever you are calling for if you are calling for that nobody should, if you are calling for your rights, if you are saying that, oh, these are my rights, these are my rights, and I ought to be given, so it means you yourself should not even violate the right of others. If you are violating the right of others and you are covering your home at the expense of others, it is unethical. It is against the ethical rules. All these are not part of a moral. They are not part of good morals. Under normal circumstance, nobody, no culture, and every culture will actually recommend that you must, one way or the other, you must obey the you must respect elder or somebody who's older than you. It doesn't actually mean that it has to be your parents. All these are part of moral teachings that we ought to have been taught right away from our home, right away. So as you are graduating or as you are going on progressing in your academics, there are certain things that are going to remain moral for you. Thou shalt not cheat. It is morally wrong for you to cheat in order to be able to score uh, higher mark. And it is also morally wrong for even a lecturer or somebody who is your teacher, because the person, you are so close to the person will now favor you uh, at the expense of others, just because of sentiment, just because it is morally wrong. So that's why we said bioethics is the study of moral issues, but this time around, moral issues that are related to biological and medical advancement. So what we are saying in essence is because it is bioethics, it has to be centered on biological and medical advancement. So what are those moral issues? Number one, under normal circumstance, as a biologist, somebody that is claiming to be to study life, you have to study life. Not only study it, you also have to respect it. You have to protect life, protect your own life, and protect the life of others as well. The same way you treat by the same way you live by making sure that you eat every time should be the same way you are going to teach even your domestic animal or your pets as well. So biological and medical advancement. Then bioethics is a field on its own which has to do with examination and the ethical implication of medical and biotechnological procedures. So we are going to see it in this presentation. What are those unethical practices? For example, today, everybody know very, very well, including the WHO, that vaccine have saved so many lives, millions of lives, millions of people that would have died. Maybe some of our big men today would have died during their childhood, if not because they were vaccinated against some diseases, against some infections. And nowadays, that vaccine, if you go back to how vaccine or vaccination was discovered, you will discover that you will remember the history of Edward Jenner, who inoculated live live smallpox into into his own 5 years son as at that time. He injected it, a smallpox that was killing them in their thousands. So Edward Jenner now went there, collected the life in cultured the life or isolated, let me use that word, isolated the live smallpox, and he introduced it into his own son. Although the child recovered after some time, and that laid very good foundation for what is called fascination. So although the product of unethical practices is saving life, but that does not make it to be right. It does not make it to be right. So that is what we are talking about when we are talking about bioethics. Then another definition on another angle that we can also look at bioethics is that it is an ethical reflection on medical and biological sciences and what could be the impact on the society. Under normal circumstance, any biological practices any biological practice or any practice that is going to have negative effect on the society, they are going to be regarded as unethical practices. It doesn't actually mean that the fact that you are older than somebody, that now has confer you with some disadvantages or some advantages to take advantage of that person. uh, that is very, very wrong. Then ethics generally now, if you now remove the word bio, if biological or medical aspect of bioethics is now being removed and we are left with only ethics. So what do we mean by ethics? Ethics is just the moral principles or the moral standards that govern a person's behavior or the conducting of an activity. So ethical principle now, that is ordinarily, not because you are a biologist, not because you are studying life, not because you are a microbiologist. So it means that how ethics now are the acceptable moral standard, moral principle that should make sure that it is governing your own behavior. Some people, they are not just happy when other people are just making progress. It is very, very wrong. It is unethical. So it is, yeah, it is not against, I mean, it is against the moral principle that governs the person behavior and the way you conduct an activity in that. So ordinarily, if some people are just put into any position of higher authority, position of leadership, so what they will just be looking for is how can they cheat others? How can they exploit others? How would they be able to take advantage or advantages of others? And they must not talk. Those that you are violating their rights, they must not talk. But you should know that this one, your conduct, your behavior is against the ethical principle. So what we are saying in essence is just that the way you relate with others will actually tell us whether you have seen God, whether you are with God, or whether you are a good conscience. Ordinarily, there are some things that you might not even see the law. Nobody might tell you that all these things are forbidden or all these things are illegal before you yourself will know that these are ways that you should behave. So ethics is nothing but having a good conscience. Good conscience. Good conscience will tell you that this thing I cannot take it. If I cannot take this one, so others should not take it for me, or should not do it to me. So ethics is a branch of philosophy. Please underline that word. It is a branch of philosophy which deal with something that are morally right and something that are morally wrong. Don't forget what the story of Cain and Abel. Nobody told Abel that nobody told Cain that the sacrifice he took to God was not going to be acceptable. So under normal circumstance, we have the capability as a moral person, as a moral entity, we have the capability to discover what is morally wrong and what are those things that are morally right. Then another thing is that ethics is the systematic study of moral values or and rules. So now when we are talking of ethics, ethics is also called moral or morality. The study of ethics is the study of morality. That is, you are trying to look at what are going to be the acceptable standard and what are going to be the unacceptable standard. Under normal circumstance, nobody should tell you, as a citizen of any country, there are you have your own rights, others have their own rights too. The fact that we said it is a freedom of speech does not now guarantee that you begin to or you start to talk to people anyhow. It is unethical. The fact that you are a microbiologist and you are fortunate, so to say, to be a microbiologist, you will now be looking at down on every other person that is studying or every other aspect of biology. So it is a part of the systematic study of moral values and rules. So you can see that. Now, we have talked about ethics and it can also be a synonym of morality. What do we mean by morality? Morality is, we are talking about the principles. So I want you to take note now. We have talked about ethics. Sometimes in some places you can replace ethics with morality. You can replace morality with standard. You can replace standards with principles. You can relate principles with philosophies. You can relate philosophy with good values and so on and so forth. Sometimes you can also replace the values with belief, with belief and so on and so forth. So what do we mean by morality? Principles concerning the distinction between right and wrong, its ability to be a moral person. If you can recognize that this thing, no, there are certain things that I cannot do. As a lecturer, no, I cannot take that. Not even as a lecturer, as a student, I cannot take that. As a lady, these are my standard. And anybody that doesn't have that kind of morality, you just discover that people will mock you, the society will mock you, and at the end of the day, it is going to be you are going to pay badly. You are going to pay. You are going to pay expensively for compromising on your own standard, going against your own morality. So you have your own. Some people will say, me, the moral standard that some of us have is according to our family lineage. They will tell you that anything you are talking about, if you are talking about Adeotu family, no, we don't take that. We don't take that. It is morality. So and anybody that do that, that is telling you that the person is not moral. So and apart from that, as a creature, as human being, there are certain standards that but anybody that just say anything can go. See, me, I can just marry anybody. I can have relationship with anybody. I don't have any standard. At the end of the day, that means there are certain things that nobody should tell you. There are some people that nobody will tell them. They will say, see, it is better. It is better to fail than for me to cheat. Nobody. But there are some people that will say, it is better that anything that is going to take me anything that is going to take me, I don't want to care. I shall need to pass that course. It is against good morals. So morality is a system of beliefs. I told you that you can replace morality with beliefs. A system of belief about what is right and what is wrong. So and don't forget what could be right with Mr. A might not be right with Mr. B. And that's why everybody there is individualistic or individualism of morality. That is, you will say as a person, no, I cannot take that from anybody. Please, that is a no go area for me. So it is also the aspect system of belief. about what is right and what is wrong. Then morality is also standard of behavior. I told you, you can replace morality with standard, you can replace morality with ethics, you can replace morality with values, you can replace morality with principles. At the same time, these are standard of behavior based on, it could be based on your culture. That see, we the Yorubas, we don't take that for, we don't take any nonsense as a result of your own culture, and sometimes as according to your society norms, societal norms. There are some people who say anybody that is going to be a king, anybody that is going to be from royal family, there are acceptable standards that the society even will be expecting from you. Under normal circumstance, as a lecturer, there are certain things that nobody should tell you. Nobody should tell you. You are the one that will develop with standard. You lay that standard with experience, with your culture, with your own belief. That's why we say standard of behavior. What Mr. Deoti will take, another person might not take it. What Silver will take might be different what from what Sakira will take, and that is exactly why we are talking about morality, which is also regarded as the standards of behavior, which could be based on cultural. It could also be as a result of religion, our religion. There are certain things that they will say as a Muslim. Even as a Muslim, there are practicing Muslims and there are Muslims by what? By name. So these are morality, part of a morality, which is an important aspect of philosophy. So principles of bioethics this time around. Now, this what we are concerned with, we want to talk about biology. That is, what are the biological or relationship or what? So key ethical principles in bioethics. That is what you must know, what bioethics you must learn in this course. Number one, you must learn autonomy. Autonomy, that everybody, every individual, every organism, every life must be respected. The decision of another person, you must not impose your own will on the will of another person. So you must recognize that everybody is an autonomous um organism, is an autonomous individual. So and that is the first principle. The first principle of bioethics is autonomy, respecting the rights of another person. So their right to make decisions. So no matter how sick somebody could be, you a patient could be at the point of death. So you should allow that person to take his own autonomous decision. Don't just impose, because by the time you are no longer respecting the autonomy of that person, that means you are now recognizing that that person has the right, he has the ability to be able to make decision for his own. Then another thing, which is the second principle, is what is called the principle of beneficence. Principle of beneficence. And what do we mean by principle of beneficence? That is the principle of doing good. Nobody, you should make sure that you do follow peace with all men, do good to everybody, so that others will be able to do good to you. You should be able to promote the well-being of others. The principle of doing good is what is called the principle of beneficence. So you should make sure that all your actions, let no corrupt communication come out of your mouth. Don't abuse another person. You don't even need anybody to tell you that you must not abuse another person. You must not violate the right of another person. Once you recognize that the first principle of bioethics is autonomy, that you respect others, love your neighbor according or as yourself. So then the principle of beneficence, that is the principle of doing good and promoting the well-being. Then another one, which is principle 3, is non-maleficence. Non-maleficence. So non-maleficence means avoiding harm to others. Don't injure another person. Don't say because you now have a very good car, just because you will now use that car to oppress others. So that is the principle of non-maleficence. You should make sure that, for example now, you as a medical doctor, you have the opportunity of prescribing two drugs, either of the two drugs. So you now say, oh, and you now know that for example now, some people, they have reactions with certain drugs. So there are some people, they will just prescribe without even taking note of the person's history. It is unethical. It is against the principle of bioethics. So what we are saying is you should avoid harms to others. Then another one is beneficence. What do we mean by beneficence? Beneficence, that means you are doing good for others, promoting the well of others. Okay. Then the second interpretation of beneficence is that you are acting in the best interests of others by contributing to their health and their happiness. You should not be a stumbling block no matter what. You should not be a bad example to others. You must make sure that you respect, you act in the best interest of others so as to promote good health and promote their happiness. Then another one is a beneficence. Interpretation of beneficence could also mean your moral obligation to benefit others. You put others before you yourself. Put another person. Don't just be, once you are putting yourself before others, that is called selfishness. So and as a leader and as an individual, what we know and what should be promoted should be the moral obligation for the benefit of others. Then maleficence, I said it, that is the obligation to avoid causing harm to others. It is your duty that you do not just because you have the money, you now get into the house where you know it is made up of medical students or serious students, and you now be disturbing the peace of others. You get to the laboratory. When you get to the laboratory, you yourself, you cover yourself, you are in nose mask, you are using PPE, and the next thing is that you just open a culture of microorganism, or you just open something that is going to be infectious to others. So you must remember the obligation to avoid causing harm to others. So under normal circumstance, you want to culture, you want to start your practicals, and you know very well that by the time you are going to be dealing with life isolate, or you are going to be dealing with life, and the next thing is that you do not even talk about it, you do not even care about the right of others. So the next thing is that you just start, you protect yourself but you are injuring others. So non-maleficence means that obligation to avoid causing harm to others. Then another one, it is a fundamental moral rule. Nobody should tell you do no harm, do no harm at all. You should be harmless. Make sure that you are not causing harm. If you are not, if you are going to fulfill the principle of non-maleficence, that is to tell you that under normal circumstance, nobody should tell you that you should not dispose, or you should dispose your waste where it can be injured to others. Huh? I mean, where it can injure others. No. So there, as a biologist, as a microbiologist, you must remember that golden rule. Golden rule. It is a fundamental moral rule that will say do no harm. Do no harm to anybody. If you are going to collect samples, you should be able to gather them in that community. gather them in that community, and you should not get into the community without looking for the stakeholders in that community. So and when you get to that community, you will must have discussed through some people. You explain everything that you want to carry out about their project, about your project. You explain it to them, and you tell them when are you coming, what are the principles that you want to apply, what are their their benefits. So you must make sure that you cause no harm to anybody. Do no harm is a fundamental moral rule. Then another one is that the principle to refrain from actions that can cause or can hurt others. There are some people that they believe, you know what they will take, you know what is poisonous to them, you know what the food they don't like, you know where they do not even eat at all. So and you will continue to engage in that same principle that they do not even like, that will just be hurting them. There are some people that up to today they are calling themselves friends to others, whereas they will continue to hurt the feelings of another person. So if you respect the right or what is called non-maleficence, you are not going to tell lie. You are not going to tell lie, because whenever anybody tells you lie, you won't like it. So, and that is the principle, that you have to refrain from the action that can cause others. Now, another thing about the bioethics, that you must come, the principle of bioethics is justice. What do we mean by justice? Fairness. Please underline that word. Fairness in the distribution of benefit as well as burden. Don't say that don't use the principle of robbing Paul to pay Peter. Anytime there is a benefit, you know that is when you will center on your own people. And anytime there is going to be burden, you will take it out of your own people. You say, no, 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 I don't want to hurt my own people. No! In bioethics, the principle of justice must be your guiding principle always. And that is nothing but fairness in the distribution of benefits as well as burden. Then another one, when we are talking about justice, is treating individuals equitably in research and medical care. So what we are saying in essence is that the same medical care you give to the poor or to the rich is the same medical care you are taking to the rich as well. Do you know that in Nigeria, let me just say, in the world today, there are paracetamol for the rich and there are paracetamol for the poor. There are anti-malaria for the rich and there are anti-malaria for the poor. That of anti-malaria for the rich will make them to be, to get recovered, will make sure that it will heal their ailments. But paracetamol, they will continue. Paracetamol for the rich, for the poor, will even go and cause another sickness in them. So it is injustice, so to say. So if you are saying you are carrying out justice, justice and the justice of individuality, you are not taking respect to others. That is equality in research and medical care. Then another one is the principle of fairness in all decisions that affect society, in all your decisions. If anybody tells you or call you, say, see, please, I cannot take that. Huh? That is fairness. You are so fair. It is justice. The principle of fairness is justice. Principle of equality, not equality that this one is for the poor, this one is for the rich. That is discriminatory. There are some people that they say, it is only people of my religion that I am going to make sure that they pass my course. No, that is injustice. It is injustice. So what we are saying is that we must respect. It is part of the principle of bioethics. Justice is part of it. The principle of fairness, fairness in distribution of burden and benefits, treating others equitably in terms of research and in terms of medical care. There are some people, there are some research that their own topic ever, their thought always will be for the rich, nothing to elevate the suffering of the poor. So that is not, that is injustice, and that is not what we are, that is exactly what we are saying. Now, what are these ethical dilemmas that we have in bioethics? I think maybe this is going to be my last slide for today because of our time. I don't want to exceed the 1 hour limit. So what are the ethical dilemmas? What do we mean by dilemmas? When somebody is in a state of confusion, somebody does not know where to go to. Is it to turn to left? Is it to turn to right? Is it to go forward? Is it to go backward? What are these ethical dilemmas? So, and we have some of them that we are going to make use of in this course. Number one of it, the common dilemma, ethical dilemmas, is the theory or the belief or what is called euthanasia. Euthanasia. What do we mean by euthanasia? It is morally acceptable to end life. uh, is it morally acceptable to end life to relieve suffering? Number one, there are some people that their own diseases or their own sickness, that a patient will continually to be in suffering. The person will be agonizing, the person will be crying. The more they treat the person, the more uncomfortable the person is. So is it right, is it bioethically right that you should say that ẹ wò suffering yìí is too much, this suffering is too much, nurse or my doctor, can't you get any drug that can end the life of this man instead of us to leave this person in suffering? It is part of the dilemma that we have in bioethics. Is it morally right? Don't forget the moral, the fundamental principle that thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not kill. He that live by sword must surely die by sword. That are established philosophy. Those are the established philosophy. But now, because somebody has been diagnosed with terminal diseases or terminal ailments, and you now discover that the person is in agony, the person is crying, the person is weeping, you see that the person is in serious pain, excruciating pain. So is it morally right or morally acceptable to just go to the doctor, or you are the one that will go and say, oh, let me go and prepare food, let me go and prepare concoction that is going to make this person to be able to get cure from this disease, and in trying to prepare that concoction, you now put hydrochloric acid, or you now put a poison, you put DD4, and immediately the person in agony, in pain, now take it instead of the person to get relief. That is what worsen the person. So these are part of the ethical dilemmas, euthanasia, and that is the practice to end life, to relieve called euthanasia. Then another one, which is number two, is very very common in biology today, and that is called the practice of genetic engineering. Should we as human being, because we are human, can we now decide that we can just have the power to modify the genetic material of others? For example, that is as a result of genetic practices or genetic engineering, which is manipulation of the DNA. So what we are saying in essence is that it is part of the ethical dilemmas in bioethics, that up to today there are some people that they call it an haram to be able to feed or to be able to use genetically modified crop. They believe it. So it is part of the dilemma. It is part of the confusing state that we have. Then the last one in terms of resource allocation. In terms of resource allocation to health, how do we allocate limited resources fairly in healthcare? So there are some of us that under normal circumstance we now say that this type of drug, please take 20 to this community. Oh, we don't have enough, just take 20 to this community. But in that place, just give them five or give them one. No. Resource allocation, how is it going to be bioethically acceptable in terms of allocation of limited resources in healthcare? So finally today, just like I said, that this is going to be the last slide we are going to consider. And don't forget what we have learned today. We look at the principle of bioethics. We are able to look at the moralities, philosophy, values, belief, and so on and so forth. We are able to look at what is called beneficence and what do we call non-maleficence and autonomy. That is, when you say somebody is an autonomous entity, that should be the first ethical standard or the first bioethical standard that we are going to have. Now, in order not to waste our time, in order not to delay us, I want you to have a reaction in the comment section. I want to see your reaction, and that is why we are going to continue from this slide in the next lecture. Once again, I remain Adeoti Olatunde Michael. I've been your lecturer for the past 60 minutes, and I hope to see you very, very soon, hail and healthy. Thank you, and God bless you.